Welcome back, everybody, to the Back Pocket Podcast, episode 16. Episode 16. I'm getting it right, Surge. Pack show for you all tonight as we are talking NFL week number 8. And then we will be going, week number 9. Surge, I'm losing my Surge. Give me some slack.
I got it. It's going too fast.
I'm not a number guy. Week 9. I'm a week behind because I wasn't on last week's episode. But speaking of Surge, and then there were 2. We start off with 4 always. Then we get to 3. We were consistent for 3, and now it is just us 2. Kean McDermott and my lovely co-host for tonight, Surge Crowley. Surge, how are you? I know you're feeling a little sick.
That is how it is. I mean, again, still, I'm a trooper. I'm a fight through. Get this excellent content out to you guys. We both we're not slacking. We're here this week and excited to talk some ball.
All right, Surge. First thing we're going to talk about, obviously, it was actually a very good week. I thought, in terms of the past couple weeks, I think the NFL season has not been I wouldn't say it's been the greatest season so far. I think it's been a good season. I think it's just been a very changing season, if you will. I just think there have been so many teams where we're like, okay, they are a Super Bowl favorite, and then they lose a game to, the worst team in the NFL. But we had that happen as the Chiefs beat the Dolphins and I have it in my notes as in an upset victory ? So Serge, I guess you want to play off that. When you look at this Chiefs Dolphins game, who did you think would win? And then watching the Chiefs, and in my opinion, watching that game, it was the Super Bowl playoff level Chiefs. It was the defense that steps up against good offenses when their personnel just, unfortunately, they just have never really had you never have looked at the Chiefs defense in the past couple of years and been like, oh, they have X, Y, and Z in terms of personnel. They have Chris Jones, really, really good defensive tackle. And besides that, they've just always had players that step up. Offensively, it was just Mahomes. It was the Mahomes that we all know. It was methodical. It was, you can't stop him. It was taking time and time off the clock while also being able to hit those big plays. And the Chiefs really dominated. And I think it definitely showed the difference between the Chiefs and Dolphins, because the Dolphins have been such a favorite in the AFC this whole season because of how, offensively dominating they have been. And they only went out and scored 14 points. Surge, when you look at this game, what do you think? And again, kind of playing off were the Chiefs an upset victory here, and kind of what you thought about this game?
Yeah, I never really bought into that the Chiefs were like underdogs against the Dolphins. First of all, like, the Dolphins haven't beaten a winning team in now it's like over 400 days. And I know they're a great team. They're a great team, but
Serge, Dylan's not here. We don't need a lie. We don't need a lie.
No, definitely. Look, I do think they are a good team, but they're good because they beat the bad teams. They beat the teams they're supposed to beat. But I think the problem is, can they beat those teams that they're going to be playing in January and maybe even February? And I think so far they haven't really lived up to the test. The Bills game, the Eagles game, now the Chiefs game. The Bills game, they got dominated. Eagles game, it was kind of close. It wasn't really. I think the Eagles were clearly the better team. Chiefs game, they start off bad. They kind of fight back, but at the end of the day, again, wasn't a great performance by them by any stretch of the imagination. Sorry. The Chiefs,
it's a flu game for you right now.
It's a flu game. I'm fighting through. I'm trying to fight through, but there we go. I'm sorry. I need to get that out.
Don't worry.
The Chiefs, man, their offense is it's kind of still stuck in neutral. This isn't the typical top 10 Chiefs offense that we're used to. They've been kind of, not middle of the pack, but they're still been obviously above average because, again, they have Mahomes, they have Kelsey, although Kelsey has been a bit, he's been good, but not the same as previous years. I
think the difference with the Chiefs, and a problem that it really hasn't been, because obviously last year, when they didn't have Tyreek, wasn't a problem, but it seems like not having an out and out receiver one is definitely kind of been a problem when it hasn't been, because the Chiefs have just always been able to look somewhere else when it comes to getting production, whether that be a receiving running back like Jerick McKinnon, Isaiah Pacheco, or Travis Kelce, who is always dominant regardless. But I do think teams have kind of started to figure out maybe figure that out a little bit. But yeah, and you know me, Serge. I am so quick to be like Tua was bad, Tua was bad, and I would love to say that because everyone knows that I do not like Tua as a quarterback, but not a bad game from Tua. Not super productive, but not a lot of mistakes. Again, was the Tua system quarterback that he has been. I think the difference kind of was defensively they were not good, and it's a Dolphins defense that generally has been very good. Obviously, if Tyreek doesn't fumble that ball, it's a completely different game. So I guess I kind of agree with you. I mean, maybe it wasn't a completely dominant performance by the Chiefs, but I guess regardless of scoring, when you look at that Chiefs offense the whole game, it was a Chiefs offense that had reminiscence of what they were in those Super Bowl seasons. And not to say that this isn't one of those seasons, but I think it's just two teams that, yeah, I mean, the AFC is really wide open. I think that's kind of what it showed it because you have two big contenders and it was 21-14. So it was an interesting one for me.
No, definitely.
Yeah, I would have expected the Chiefs to win it, though. I think if you were talking to me about it before, I definitely would have expected the Chiefs to win it.
I know all the talk has been, though, about how the Chiefs offense, especially the receiving core, has been very kind of inexperienced, and Mahomes doesn't really have that guy that he can trust besides Kelsey. But that's been more than made up for by their defense. And I know the Dolphins offense really did struggle, and that's kind of more going to be the narrative that they're struggling in these big games. But I think really give props to Steve Spagnuolo and that defense. Guys like, I know Chris Jones gets the headlines, but guys like Karlaftis, Omenahu, Bolton, McDuffie, Snead, they've all been great. And they have, I think right now, the second best scoring defense in the NFL. They've really kind of, while the Chiefs offense is kind of still trying to figure out their identity, even with Mahomes, they've really kind of picked up the slack, and they've been one of the premier units in the NFL. And I think that's the reason why they're 7-2, even though they've been kind of, everyone's like, oh, the Chiefs haven't been as good this year. They have been, even though their offense has regressed, their defense has progressed to being one of the best in the NFL. So they're kind of like probably more of a complimentary team than they've ever been all season. So I think kind of, they need to figure it out. The offense needs to figure it out, but I think definitely their defense is really stepping up here recently.
I think this was the one season where the Chiefs should have swung for the fences for a big name receiver, even like a guy like Julio Jones. But I think Hopkins, again, who knows how true it was because he's been, balling in Tennessee these past few weeks. But I do think this should have been a season where they went and swung for a receiver, whether that be in free agency or whether that be up to the trade deadline. And I think that might bite them in the butt come later in the season because, again, I really like Rashee Rice. I loved him coming out of the draft. Just hasn't been a wide receiver one. Obviously, has been productive.
He's been okay. I think he's their best receiver.
Yeah, he's been more productive. Yeah, exactly. And that says something. He had a great season.
No,
it's just the kind of thing where it's like, I think this should have been the kind of time where, and the Chiefs have never been that kind of team where they swing for the fences for kind of a good receiver. Even like bring Juju back because I know he hasn't been great at New England or do something. Juju
was so underrated for Kansas City.
Exactly.
I mean, he wasn't. I mean, I don't think he was a typical receiver one, but he was someone that was dependable, experienced, a veteran, and he did what Kansas City was asked for. Mahomes trusted him. They don't have a Juju now with him leaving. Kelsey is the one guy, and if not, they have a bunch of, some are talented but very inexperienced guys, and I think Mahomes is still kind of working his way up to trusting them. And yeah, that's what I'd say.
100%. Speaking of offenses that need to figure it out, Joshua Dobbs wins the Minnesota Vikings a football game after not knowing many of the players' names. He said, and I'm not going to completely remember the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, if you were to ask me names right now, I would not be a very good teammate. Credit to him, man. That's what you love. It's one of those great NFL storylines. Joshua Dobbs, obviously a guy who just really has not been able to find footing as a quarterback one on any team. Starts in Cleveland this season, gets traded to Arizona, starts for them, and is really happy when he gets traded to Arizona. Feels like it's a new beginning. Arizona ship him off to Minnesota after Kirk Cousins tears ACL. And I mean, literally a guy who hadn't had snaps with some of these players and goes out and beats a Falcons team that is good, like a Falcons team that is definitely better than last year. Defensively, we know how good they were expected to be after this offseason, all the additions that they made. High scoring game, 39-37, but all credit to Joshua Dobbs and, rushing and throwing touchdown. I mean, I feel like this will be a shorter topic, but I mean, seriously, when you look at Joshua Dobbs, just how, polarizing was that and how just kind of heartwarming was that for you to see?
No, I mean it was a great performance from him. I mean, considering again the circumstances, like not knowing all of his teammates' name, not knowing the playbook, definitely, and he still managed to kind of be a steady hand. And I think that's really he probably really just changed the trajectory of the Viking season, just because just competent QB play with that offense, good offensive line, great receivers. Addison really kind of started to come into his own. Obviously, they have Justin Jefferson. KJ Osborne, I know he's injured, but he'll probably be back sometime this season. Hawkinson, they've got so many weapons. And I think if Joshua Dobbs can just play kind of just good caretaker quarterback football, they'll be in the playoffs, especially considering I think that defense as well starting to get better, a little bit better, a little bit better. I think that NFC again, really wide open. I think when you think of the teams that can make the playoffs, I'd say Dallas, definitely, Philly, Detroit, whoever wins the NFC South, San Francisco, and Seattle. So there's one spot up for grabs, and really, there's no one really that I would say is kind of threatening, I'd say, for that 7th seed other than Minnesota. I mean,
I think the Falcons are there, but I think
maybe the Falcons,
the
maybe
thing
the Saints.
and the thing that I was
know.
saying, Serge, is I mean, this could, when all comes said and done, this could be the biggest win for the Vikings of their season. I mean, you look at, speaking of that 7th seed, the Falcons, who are out and out a contender for that 7th seed, and he goes and beats them. And not to mention away from home. I mean, it's one of those stories where it's fantastic. It shows the versatility of Joshua Dobbs, and I think it shows how, there's a reason why Jimmy Garoppolo and guys like Jimmy Garoppolo and guys like Jared Goff were able to bring their teams to Super Bowls. That being said, I think Goff is better than Dobbs, but it's the kind of thing where it's like, if you're put in the right system, if you put enough confidence in a guy, really the sky's the limit. That being said, neither of those of the Goff or Garoppolo won the quarterback, but they prove they can make it to the pinnacle. So I think all credit to Dobbs. Speaking of, and before we move on, I mean, Jordan Addison, what a receiver he's going to be if he pans
that
out.
Catch before, towards the end of the game, freak.
I mean, the hit from behind on the sideline, and again, I'm not promoting injuries in any way, but I think when we look back on his career, I think a huge turning point was him now getting forced into that wide receiver 1 role with Jefferson gone, because now he's like, okay, I need to step up. He has done fantastic. Him and Jefferson will be very scary once Jefferson comes back, which I believe is next week. So
yeah, I think either this week or next week. It's
so I think if you're Minnesota, really slow start. Get Dobbs in. You have 2 very, very good receivers. Mm-hmm. I think the kind of the whole problem for them, which was something that they had last year, and the reason that they were so successful last year, was that running game, which is just not very good. Obviously, prayers up to Cam Akers, tore his Achilles again. So it's
tough.
Yeah, that's I think the one question for Minnesota is where you're gonna kind of distribute the ball to if it's not Addison and if it's not Justin Jefferson. But what a story from Dobbs! What a story.
Mm-hmm. It's a great story. I mean, again, kind of career journeyman, kind of very low end starter, high end backup. He's been playing good ball.
I wouldn't even say low end starter. I think he's been.
No, I'm talking about previous years.
Yeah, still. I think Dobbs is you always thought Joshua Dobbs, it was he's been on the Steelers for whatever, and he never played. Mm-hmm. So I don't even think he was a low end starter. So I think he's really kind of flipped his career around.
No, yeah, definitely. And he's been really good. I think he's definitely gonna make a lot of money in the NFL, whether as now is a high end backup, definitely, or if not, maybe he could still be starting for I don't know, a team that needs quarterback stability. I could see it. I think he's done a great job with Arizona and Minnesota.
100%. Speaking of wonderful stories, CJ Stroud. Everyone laughed at me when I had CJ Stroud, and I was like, I think CJ Stroud's in that MVP conversation. Is he going to win MVP? I don't think so. But I said it when no one else would say it. I was the trailblazer, and he had a absolutely monster game. 470 yards, 5 touchdowns, right? I mean, just unbelievable from CJ Stroud. Rookie of the year. We can say it now. Offensive rookie of the year, unless something catastrophic happens.
Barring, maybe Puka, but I think Stroud is a quarterback. It's just
Stroud set that's a record for yards in a game. It was yards in a game for a rookie quarterback. I mean, fantastic. You look at a guy who's rivaling and arguably having a better rookie year than Deshaun Watson, who was fantastic. His rookie season is incredible from CJ Stroud. Speaking of that, I mean, kind of in my notes, watching that game, I really think him and Deshaun Watson are pretty similar. Really good stature, mobile. I would say Watson's a little more mobile, but Stroud is. I think what Stroud has, and I've been saying this over and over again on our episodes, is he is the quarterback he was at Ohio State. He's incredibly accurate. He can put the ball anywhere. He's not nervous, and he understands how to play in the pocket. CJ Stroud was incredibly calm. He looked like a seasoned vet in that game against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Methodically drive. I mean, Serge, that end game drive for the Texans to win them the game was
that throw
gorgeous.
to Tank Dell, like
beautiful.
over the right, hitting the whole shot against cover two,
beautiful.
Over the defender.
Beautiful.
On the sideline, perfect throw. Yeah. Tank Dell too. He's great.
And who loved him? Me, I did.
I will give you credit. You definitely.
I did. I love Tank Dell. He's been fantastic. But I mean, Serge, when you look at CJ Stroud, just how awesome was that to see another super high scoring game? But the composure from him was amazing. He's the future of the Texans. I think we can say that.
Yeah, I mean, for the longest time, and I regret this now. I mean, I know Bryce Young. I still have confidence that he's gonna turn it around, but I think I had him as QB1 for the longest time until the rumored S2 scores came out where he placed terribly on that. Yeah. And everyone was like, oh, no quarterback's ever placed this bad and done well. I think it's stay away from CJ Stroud, but he's proven them all wrong. He's
not a good test taker. He just plays football.
That's what he said. I mean, and he's right. He's been an excellent football player. And he's and I know one of the main concerns about that was decision making, and he's literally has one interception. I think that's probably among quarterbacks that have started all of these games, probably the least in the NFL. I'd have to imagine.
Yeah.
And he's been great. This was kind of a hallmark performance. One of my comps for him during the draft again was his ceiling, at least, was Joe Burrow. And I think that's kind of even better because I feel like he can put the ball anywhere on the field. And Joe Burrow can too, obviously, but he's his accuracy is special. It's special, and you saw that especially on that last drive.
Great
pocket mobility. I think everything that we saw from the Georgia game is what we've seen all season long from CJ Stroud. And he's doing it with listen, I know we all love Nico Collins here, but it's not one of the greatest receiving cores in the league. So
it could be though. I have it in my notes. Him and Nico Collins and Tank Dell will be a trio. It will. Watch it happen.
You know what? I do like those guys. I also like Robert Woods. I like Brevin Jordan. I mean, they're solid pieces.
I think they still have Brandon Cooks. That would be a huge player to still have.
No, I think he's on the Texans.
I know. I'm saying if they had him,
if they
still had him, he's on the Cowboys now. I know, but I'm saying if they still had him, I guess he kind of takes up the Tank Dell role though.
Mm-hmm. No, I think if they can get him a receiver one this offseason, Houston. I mean, I understand it sounds crazy right now, but Super Bowl windows start and close fast. They could be contenders as soon as next year. Playing.
Oh yeah.
He's been. I trust Demeco with the defense. I mean, they've been solid all year. Just get.
Will Anderson has been fantastic. Speaking of the edge rushers, he's been amazing.
He's just flown a bit under the radar because of guys like Carter and Witherspoon have been obviously great at their positions, but he's been great himself too. I think. Yeah, just get Stroud receiver one, get the offensive line healthy as well. That's important, and they could really they could generally be contending for the Super Bowl as soon as next year. And I know maybe that's a bit of a hot take, but I mean, look at CJ Stroud. He already looks like possibly a top 10 quarterback.
I think he is. Because I think when you look at quarterbacks that are about 7 down, I think there's so much space for kind of opinion. I think Stroud's easy. I think he's top 10. I think he'd be top 7, or you could push a top 8 narrative 100% if he continues to have how he's been. I mean, the Texans are 4-4 against really all odds. No one expected them to be good this year.
No, I mean, I had him as 7-10 because I trusted Demeco and I thought their roster was underrated, but I was doing that with
shout out to you. I did not have
Stroud would be a rookie and kind of play like a rookie, but he's been playing like a top 10 quarterback. I think. Sorry,
you're good. Flu game, ladies and gentlemen.
I gotta gut it out. Yeah. But what I will say, I would have him if you had him as high as 7, which I say is right above Tua. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be upset. I think that's probably the ceiling I would say right now for him, but he's been just excellent. I think there isn't really much you can criticize about his game.
I think I would take CJ Stroud over Tua right now, easy. And I know Dylan would hate that, but right now, easily, I'm taking CJ Stroud over Tua. I think you put
Stroud. He's a rookie compared to Tua, who's in his fourth
You
year. I mean,
you put
absolutely. I would probably take him.
I know people hate saying this, but you put Stroud in Miami. Oh my God, fireworks.
That would be. I mean, again. I mean, to be fair, 2 in Miami is the same thing, but like he kind of falters against good teams. I mean,
don't
he's
think
not like
Serge,
he's
I
not
think
bad.
Stroud's
Like,
bigger, Stroud's faster, Stroud is just as accurate. Stroud would offer a lot more. Stroud offers play extension. I think Stroud's a lot better
I
than
think
Tua.
Stroud might already be the most accurate quarterback in the league. Like
Yeah.
maybe that's a hot take, but I think I mean, again, Burrow, Tua,
Mahomes, Rodgers when he's healthy.
Rodgers when he's healthy.
It's probably Rodgers when he's healthy. He just doesn't really throw picks.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, yeah, I guess you can't really say Allen.
Allen's kind of a combination of bad decision making.
Yeah.
Kind of
accuracy. I don't like Mac Jones, but I think when rookie Mac Jones is very accurate. Yeah, no, he's up there for sure. 100% he's up there.
No, definitely. I think healthy wise, I think it's the argument could be with healthy quarterbacks. I think the argument could absolutely be made.
100%. Let's move on, Surge. NFC North. Eagles, big win against the Cowboys. Dak once again does not show up in the big game.
I actually disagree with that. I thought he was good.
I thought he was good, and that's what I mean. But I don't think he's not good enough. That's what I mean. That's what I mean, Serge. I think the Eagles have sealed the NFC North with that win. If I'm wrong,
if they've got some tough games left, they play Dallas again, but I think they'll win the division definitely. But like Dallas still have a chance. I think the way Philly's been playing, they've kind of like let their opponents in every single game. So I think I could see them dropping another game or two.
100%. I think they by rule of thumb will drop another game. But the rule of thumb that doesn't make any sense by saying that. But does that make sense? Rule of thumb?
I mean, what is a rule of thumb actually?
Yeah, what is it? What is it actually?
I don't know.
I mean,
I think maybe it's one of those things that doesn't have an actual definition, but just
some dude just said it one
day. But
like
in context, it just makes sense. So you know what? I'm gonna give you a pass for that.
Some person was just like rule of thumb one day, and people like didn't really get it. But they're like, "Oh, he's probably smarter than us."
Damn, he's like, "Oh, okay. I see what he's saying." You know what?
So I'm gonna use that now.
Yeah, no. I mean, in context, I mean, sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, back to it. Yeah, I mean, Serge, the thing with Dak is I mean, Serge, the amount of times you talk about Dak is like insane. There are pillars of our podcast on things we talk about, and like Dak is one of those. I mean, it's the same thing. It's like,
I mean, in our show, it's Tua, but like in the NFL, the most polarizing quarterback in the league is Dak. Because
you love
him or you hate him. I think with Dak.
Yeah. I have not found a lot of people recently who love him.
I mean, yeah. Actually, I wouldn't say most hated, but like, no, I mean, I think at least among Cowboys fans, it's just like, even among themselves, it's just like, either you really love him or you really hate him. I think there's a performance to really love from Dak, because I think, sorry, again, but I would say, I thought he was someone who, again, was consistently getting it to his weapons. Again, the Cowboys don't really have a lot of weapons outside of CD. I mean, they have Pollard, but
who's been... For all the hype of he's better than Zeke, not paying off very well.
Hasn't been great.
Yeah.
I mean, Gallup hasn't been good this year. Turpin's a good special teams guy and is a good gadget guy, but he's not really a number.
Well, they have the receiver from Southern Alabama who I thought
Jalen Tolbert. I like him. Yeah. I like Jalen Tolbert, but like he's not a receiver too. Brandon Cooks, but like
yep.
Really been.
They just got Martavius Bryant.
So random.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
I thought he was retired. I mean, I don't know why.
Imagine being the NFL like graphic designer having to be like, yeah, you have to like make this about Martavius Bryant.
I swear to God,
the only reason that they posted that is because there's nothing at like that's like the most breaking news.
No, yeah, that's like, be fair, in his prime, he was a really good receiver too. In Pittsburgh, but then
I mean
he just couldn't stop getting suspended. But
yeah,
he was. But yeah, I don't really know. I mean, that's not gonna have an impact on him. I don't see him being. I don't even I don't know why you
I don't
even
even.
start. Honestly, I don't get it. Is it
We're
like
wasting
the
our
Cowboys
words
trying
on
to be
him.
like the Eagles with like Julio Jones or
Yeah,
something? But like,
yeah, we're wasting
I
our
don't know.
words.
I don't get it. But I
Speaking,
thought he was good.
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought he. Sorry, you go ahead.
I was just gonna go on to the next topic.
Oh,
Speaking
okay.
of it, do
Speaking
you
of it,
have?
okay.
Unless you have something to say.
No, I'm just saying. I think Dak was good until the last
Yeah, go
drive
ahead.
where I was just annoyed by it because I thought he played like a great game. He was keeping his team in the game, making some clutch throws. Third down, he was magnificent. I thought,
Mm-hmm.
but just that last drive, how do you take that sack on? It's like you're in like perfect position to get a game winning touchdown. You take a sack, only give yourself one more chance to the end zone. Good throw, but like short of the end zone. I mean, he was like, I think with that Dak, they can go to the Super Bowl. But like also with the Dak they got for I thought the first 59 minutes, they can go to the
Yeah, and that's
Super
the
Bowl.
thing, and that's the thing, Serge. He's
But
always just he
that's
just
been the
doesn't have
thing.
that finishing.
The
Yeah,
end, the end game Dak. Can we get that for 60 minutes against a great team? And I think I think he's got the potential to do it. I just like it's
Mm.
been it's been tough.
Speaking of very inconsistent teams, the Bengals and the Bills. The Bengals get a win in a game. I think a lot of people thought, yeah, the Bengals will win this game. Obviously, huge win for Cincinnati as they've kind of been up and down and obviously want to make the playoffs in an open AFC. Beat the Bills, another competitor in the AFC. Burrow is great. When you look at that game, what does it kind of tell you about the AFC picture and just what, about, does this tell you more about the Bengals or does this tell you more about Buffalo?
Um, it's tough because I think it told me a lot about both teams. First of all, I think the Bengals are back now. It's
Yep.
just Joe
Yep.
Burrow, obligatory first 4 games looks mid, and he's just like, oh, what happened to Joe Burrow? And then he's like, no, he's like prime Tom Brady rest of the season. So
Yep.
he looks good again. Jamar looks good. T Higgins looks really good. Finally, he needed a big game, and yeah, it was a good performance from Cincy. Buffalo. I'm sorry, give me a sec.
You're on 70 points right now.
I'm trying. I'm trying, but like anyway, I'm trying to get through this.
It's all right. Take your time.
Anyway, okay, now I'm back. Buffalo, I thought that defense was. I mean, their defense wasn't really that bad. I mean, I think them getting Rasul Douglas, that was an addition. I really loved at the trade deadline. I think they needed a cornerback one. He's been a cornerback one this season. So I think good move there. They were fine. I mean, they were fine against Cincy. I mean, they start off a bit slow, but they kind of really they were able to keep their offense in the game, but
Mm-hmm.
wasn't enough. 5-4. They're out of the playoff picture right now, so they got to figure it out soon. But that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, for Buffalo, it's a little bit of kind of flashing lights, like warning signs here. I mean, it definitely is a little concerning. It's just the kind of thing where it's like their defense will be so good and so disruptive, like where they were against the Dolphins, and then they won't be against the Bengals, or Josh Allen will have a very bad 3-pick game. But then those games where both the offense and defense are clicking, they look like the best team in the NFL. They look absolutely fantastic, like they did against Miami. So for me, it's it's the same with the Bengals. It's been the same with the Chiefs and kind of the contenders in the AFC. It's like when both of those sides of the ball are firing on all cylinders, they are fantastic and they look like the contender teams that we have known them to be these past years. Bengals look fantastic. Like you said, I mean, Joe Burrow, amazing. Jamar Chase, very, very good. The offensive line stood up well. We obviously know Bengals, very underrated defense. So I think when if you're Cincinnati, you're like, okay, this is what we needed. We will be a playoff team. We're contenders. But if you're Buffalo, I mean, you really can't drop another. I mean, you really drop another game, another 2 games, and you're really, it'll start to get a little concerning because the Dolphins are right there. And it's an AFC that has a lot of teams that are kind of on the cusp. So it's a tough one for Buffalo because it's
I
like you
think
really kind of need to get your stuff together.
no 10-7. Like you're like if they drop 3 more games, 10-7 is their ceiling.
Yeah.
Does that make the playoffs in the AFC? You got the
I don't know.
Steelers, the Browns, kind of the Jets, even the Texans, you could say right now.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's
It's
tough.
tough. Speaking of it, Surge, I always say speaking of it, even though we're not speaking of it. Some breaking news today, and that is Carson Wentz Goes to the Los Angeles Rams. Initial reactions to that as a non-Rams fan. Is it just kind of like, oh, it's just he's going to the Rams and who cares?
Honestly, that's how.
Like,
I mean, I think Carson Wentz. He's just a name. Like, I mean, I don't really know what to like about Carson Wentz.
I don't know if there's much to like.
Not good under
anymore.
Pressure. Not really that mobile. I mean, he hasn't been good for a few years. I mean, he's a solid backup, but I don't even know if he'll start over Rippin, honestly.
No, they let go of Rippin.
Oh, they did.
They released Rippin, yeah.
Well, I guess he will. But
I think Stetson Bennett should get a shot.
I wouldn't be upset about that, but I don't know.
I've been saying it. Stetson Bennett will be a good quarterback. I feel like he'll be like not like in college like that successful, but I feel like he'll be one of those like late round guys who end up being a good
like a Josh Dobbs. You mean?
Yeah,
like that.
Not even that, but like a Brock Purdy, not that good, but like
I don't know. I don't know about Brock Purdy. I mean, maybe if he was in San Francisco, sure, but like, I don't know. I mean, he had an elite supporting cast in Georgia. I feel like any quarterback would have.
Yeah, that's true.
I know that's a common. I know that's like obviously a common.
But that is very true.
That was like a very good supporting cast. Not to mention he was 25 playing in college. Yeah, I mean,
well, I got taken apart there.
Yeah, I mean, he could be a solid backup in the league. I think, but I mean, honestly, I would be upset if they gave him a shot over Wentz, but yeah, Wentz is just the most signing for me ever. I think at best he's an okay backup for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one thing that people are holding on to is Wentz was an MVP candidate, was the MVP winner. I'm not saying he will be again, but obviously it's not like Josh Dobbs where he was never good, really. But like Wentz has been a very good Super Bowl winning quarterback, Super Bowl level quarterback. So I think he fits the Rams system pretty well. I think him and Stafford you can compare them in some senses. Wentz is bigger. Wentz is more, maybe not anymore, was more mobile. So I get the signing because it's kind of like, who else do you go for? But I agree. I think Stetson Bennett deserves a shot in Los Angeles.
It's definitely a tough situation. But at this point for the Rams, 3-6.
Yeah,
playoffs is almost. I guess it is the NFC. So maybe rattle off a few straight wins, and maybe you're kind of in contention for that 7 seed. But like, I don't know. I don't know if they can do that the way they've been playing out. They're not doing that with Wentz, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't know. I think they're gonna start looking at quarterbacks in this year's draft. But
yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Surge, we did that in probably record time. Thank you all so much for listening.
I was just trying to survive.
Don't worry. Everyone comment Surge, flu game. That was the flu game. Really.
That was the flu game. I think we're going to need some of those clips where I kind of
coughing.
Just push through. Yeah. I know my voice didn't sound 100% there, but yeah.
Thank you all so much for watching. Key McDermott, Surge Kadali. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 2,000 before the end of the calendar year. So if you could help us get there, that would mean the world. Surge will streak naked across the Michigan-Ohio State game if we get there. So, if you guys don't want to see that, I don't know what you want.
What would you?
Yeah.
I don't know what you would. That'd be a gift.
Yeah. So we appreciate you all so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time. Peace out.